Welcome to our video on the luckiest people who survived the impossible. Throughout history, there have been countless stories of individuals who have faced seemingly insurmountable odds and yet, against all odds, have managed to survive. Join us as we take a look at the incredible resilience and determination of these individuals and the incredible odds they overcame to make it out alive. 1. Julianne Koepke. In 1971, Julianne was the only survivor of a plane crash in the Amazon rainforest. She survived for 11 days alone in the jungle before being rescued. Julianne Koepke was a 17-year-old German-Peruvian student who was flying over the Amazon rainforest with her mother when the plane they were on was struck by lightning and crashed. Julianne was the only survivor among the 92 passengers and crew on board. She fell from an altitude of around 2 miles and landed in the jungle, still strapped to her seat. Despite suffering injuries, she was able to walk through the jungle for 11 days before being rescued by a group of lumbermen. She was eventually reunited with her father, who was also a survivor of the crash. 2. Aron Ralston. In 2003, Aron became trapped by a boulder while canyoneering in Utah. After spending 5 days trapped, he amputated his own arm to free himself. Aron Ralston was a canyoneer who became trapped by a boulder while exploring Blue John Canyon in Utah in April 2003. He was pinned by the boulder and could not free himself, despite several attempts to do so. He was stranded for 5 days before he realized that his only chance of survival was to amputate his own arm. Using a dull multi-tool, he performed the amputation, then rappelled down a 65-foot wall and hiked out of the canyon to seek help. His story was later told in the book, Between a Rock and a Hard Place, and made into a movie called 127 Hours directed by Danny Boyle. 3. Nando Parrado and Roberto Canessa. In 1972, these two men survived for 72 days in the Andes after their plane crashed. They survived by eating the remains of the dead passengers and eventually hiking to safety. In October 1972, a Uruguayan Air Force Fairchild FH-227D aircraft carrying 45 people, including members of a Uruguayan rugby team and their friends and family, crashed in the Andes Mountains. Nando Parrado and Roberto Canessa were among the survivors. After the crash, the survivors initially survived on food from the wreckage, but as that ran out, they were forced to resort to eating the bodies of the deceased passengers. After several weeks, Nando Parrado and Roberto Canessa set out on a journey to find help. They walked for 10 days, climbing over the Andes Mountains, until they finally reached civilization, after 72 days on the mountain. Their story was later told in the book Alive, The Story of the Andes Survivors by Piers Paul Reed. 4. Louis Zamperini. In 1943, Louis' plane crashed in the Pacific Ocean and he survived 47 days on a life raft before being captured by the Japanese. He then survived as a prisoner of war for 2 years. Louis Zamperini was a United States Army Air Forces bombardier during World War II. In May 1943, his plane went down in the Pacific Ocean and he survived for 47 days on a life raft with 2 other crew members before being captured by the Japanese. He was held as a prisoner of war for over 2 years and was subject to brutal treatment by his captors. He was eventually liberated in September 1945 by the American Army. After the war, Louis struggled with PTSD and alcoholism, but eventually turned his life around and became a motivational speaker and an advocate for forgiveness. His life story was told in the best-selling book Unbroken, a World War II story of survival, resilience, and redemption by Laura Hillenbrand. 5. Jose Salvador Alvarenga. In 2012, Jose survived 14 months adrift in the Pacific Ocean after his fishing boat capsized. He was eventually rescued off the coast of Mexico. In November 2012, Salvador Alvarenga, a fisherman from El Salvador, set out on a fishing trip off the coast of Mexico with a companion. But their boat capsized in a storm and his companion drowned. Salvador was stranded in a small open boat and drifted some 6,700 miles across the Pacific Ocean, surviving on fish and birds that he caught, and drinking rainwater. He was eventually rescued by the local people on Marshall Islands after 438 days adrift. His story generated significant media attention and was documented in a book called 438 Days, An Extraordinary True Story of Survival at Sea by Jonathan Franklin. And there you have it, the most incredible survival stories of all time. These individuals have shown us that even in the face of seemingly impossible odds, the human spirit can endure and overcome. Their stories of resilience, determination, and hope serve as a reminder that nothing is impossible. We hope this video has inspired you to never give up, no matter how dear the circumstances may seem. Thanks for watching.